Welcome, and thank you for joining the Religious Freedom Institute for this discussion on America's international religious freedom policy. I'm Nathan Berkeley, IRF's Communications Director and Research Coordinator. Today we'll be talking about our recently published report titled America's International Religious Freedom Policy Must Account for Competing Local Definitions of Religion and the Common Good. This report was published as a part of RFI's Freedom of Religious Institutions and Society project. Religious liberty is not an individual right alone, but rather encompasses this full range of congregational and organizational expressions of faith. The report sets forth a number of other policy principles that I will leave to Professor Chad Bauman, our moderator today, and our distinguished group of leading scholars to address.
It's an honor to be here with you and with our distinguished guests, and I'll introduce them before we begin. Robert Hefner is Professor of Global Affairs and Anthropology at the Pardee School of Global Affairs at Boston University. Our second guest is Jacqueline Neo. She is an Associate Professor and the Director of the Center for Asian Legal Studies at the National University of Singapore.
Policymakers, particularly here we're talking about U.S. policymakers, would do well to begin their advocacy of certain policies when they deal with state officials in different countries by first of all identifying, taking some time and learning something about local conceptions of religion and trying to understand how much those look like and how much those differ from American conceptions.
There cannot be a one-size-fits-all definition of religion and a one-size-fits-all approach to advancing religious freedom simply because the kind of tensions, inter or intra-religious issues, state religion configuration that we see across these different countries vastly differ. One could see religious harmony as a precondition to freedom, in the sense that for us to actually be able to practice religious freedom in a peaceable manner, one needs to be in a context where there is no conflict and there is no inter-religious hostility that prevents that type of freedom to be exercised.
One must, by definition, begin where one is, working with the cultural presumptions and ideals of the space that one inhabits. But this doesn't mean that one can say nothing about matters elsewhere. It simply means that one must recognize that others will begin the conversation working with different cultural presumptions and ideals that may lead them to different and sometimes surprising conclusions about how best to regulate religion.